It's recording, everybody, just so you know. It's official.
I'm coming back here with a smart people.
Because it was loud, but that's a recording. Wiser.
You guys are in the camera seats, so please, in case you haven't been to a meeting in a while, if you speak, you're louder than us over here, just so you know, okay? Thank you.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, take the roll, please.
Sure. Ms. Coates? Present. Ms. Falcone?
Here.
Mr. Haney? Here. Ms. Hassler? Here. Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Polinsky?
Here.
Mr. Stout?
Here.
Mrs. Stout?
Here.
Second. I'd like to make a note for the record that an executive session was held on January 2nd prior to our meeting regarding personnel matters. Did everyone get a chance to look over the minutes? Any questions on any of them?
I would like to propose, I give everybody a little handout, just a few little minor changes. I'll have to do that.
Good. No issues. So, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of December 11th, 2023 with the proposed revisions.
Make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll also be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of January 2nd, 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Communications.
Currently we have two members of the municipal authority, Mr. Meitzler and Mr. Frankel, who would like to discuss with council the ordinance number 5-2023 regarding an increase in water and sewer rents for commercial and industrial users in the borough of Topton.
Yes, we are being asked to make a recommendation of an increase of 50% for these two categories. We have no justification, we have no data, we have no information whatsoever. There is no way that we can make that recommendation.
Michelle, would you like to touch on
Yeah,
it?
I was just gonna jump in there. So, when we got the proposed budget, the initial proposal was for an increase of 110% in order to make the budget meet. So there's a variety of factors coming in here. First off, all three areas, water, sewer, and general fund, have been living off of ARPA funds for the last 3 years. There's been, there was a minor increase last year, to water and sewer across the board. But this year we have a substantial shortfall, especially with the well, Washington Street pump station, and some other things that need to get done. But the first problem was that the ARPA funds are all but gone. So there's a lot of things that have increased, that the rates have not increased to meet those needs. And now that the ARPA funds, the extra funds are gone, I think we're gonna see it everywhere. That's why all the taxes are going up this year, for everybody, the county, the school, everybody, because everybody's ARPA funds are gone, which is the COVID money. Secondly, we did do a survey of all the surrounding areas, a lot of Berks and Lehigh County, those that we could get rates on, which was majority. On the residential end, we are one of the highest for our residential rates. For our commercial and industrial rates, we are by far the lowest, not even close. Our commercial and industrial rates are just slightly higher than a residential. Most places are 3 to 5 times higher for their commercial and industrial rates, not even close to ours. It is a little hard to compare jurisdictions. Most locations do their billing for commercial and industrial on a monthly basis. We do quarterly. Not all of them do it in the way that we do, that you're just commercial or industrial. Lots of them do them by the size of the meter or the size of the line going into the building. So it varies very much. Unfortunately, we're just not set up to do that. We don't have the manpower to bill on a monthly basis. So it is done quarterly. So the best everything is somewhat of a guesstimate, only because, like, when I did all the numbers for the commercial rates, I did them all at a 2-inch line. Well, not everybody has a 2-inch line, but that's the smallest line for commercial. And the average runs anywhere from, if you were comparing apples to apples, with the 4,000 minimum, the average runs $300 to $500. Our current rate puts them at $172.74. With the increase, it puts them at $227.70. Still way below the average of the areas around us. We did only allow the 50%. We did not decide to do the 110 to make everything even, so we did have to cut things. If something happens, like a water main break or something major happens, we do not have the money to cover it as things stand right at this moment. If you guys have another alternative, we are more than willing to listen, but we racked our brains and did a lot of background work to try to find a way to make up the gap, but we're not able to find one.
Is there any reason that we were cut out of the discussion about this at the beginning, or we should have been in?
Well, no one's been cut out of anything. It's been on the agenda and discussed
Yeah.
here at the meetings for months and months and months. Every resident is welcome to come, and those who are more involved with these things should make themselves available. We're not gonna reach out to everybody and give you every piece of information. It was here and available for you.
It's been an ongoing conversation for as long as I've been on council.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not happy about it either. We would love not to, or at least not at that rate, but I mean, like I said, when we were first given the budget, the request was for an 110% increase to make the budget balance. So we had to cut a lot of our contingencies if something were to happen in order to make the budget balance. And unfortunately, in water and sewer, the only way to make it up is through the rates. We just don't know another way around it. And we hate to raise the residential, like I said, when we did a survey of all of Lehigh and Berks County, we have the highest rates. I even had an extensive talk with Charlie about that to confirm that, and we do. We have the highest residential rates in 2 counties. But the lowest commercial and commercial and industrial.
Can we have access to this data for discussion? I mean,
I guess the point is you had access to the data. You could have come to any of the meetings. We've been discussing this for more than a year.
my understanding is that the municipal authority is supposed to be a buffer between the public and the borough council. And that things that are supposed to initiate with the municipal authority and not the borough council. And then we make the recommendation and then you approve it.
Well, then why was the municipal authority not aware that we were in such a shortfall?
That's what we're asking you.
Well, you can, like I said, this is discussed for every meeting, basically, for a long time, and you guys don't come, so
We weren't invited.
why do you have to be invited?
I do not, personally, I do not check the borough council. This is, you know.
Well, but I mean, the agenda is posted, everything is, we say this is what we're all getting together to talk about. If you guys see on the agenda, look, we're talking about water and sewer rates, and you don't think, maybe I should go get involved in the conversation.
I think we're at I think that we are just being asked to rubber stamp this, right?
Well, I would have liked if you had come and been a part of the conversation and helped, but
I would like to have been too, except I didn't know that this was going on.
But again, we don't inform everyone of what's on it, it's posted
So-
publicly.
Are you saying the municipal authority is not important to get involved with this?
No, what I'm saying is that.
But that's the way I'm taking it sitting here. You're sitting there saying that we could have came, yes, we could have came and got involved. But I get emails all the time from Stacy of stuff that's going on. Nobody, you didn't think about once emailing us and saying, hey, we're looking up the water and sewer rates, do you guys want to get involved?
Maybe there was a misstep there.
Because now it does look like, and I stated at our meeting last week, Stacy, feels like you want us to rubber stamp our thing, and we're just saying, no, not this time.
Honestly, to tell you the truth, I've had such little interaction with you guys that I don't understand what the process is there.
I mean,
If there's a recommendation coming from you guys should be initiating these things. You should be staying on top of it.
but
How
I
else do you think you're
understand,
going to do that? I mean,
I understand it, but, it just seems like we're asked to rubber stamp. It's just like some of the stuff the planning commission that I sit on, we're asked to rubber stamp it through quick. Stacy, you know that as well, we've said that. We feel like a rubber stamp, just say yes. and
well, if that's
go
how
on.
you feel, then why not get more involved?
Well, with the planning commission's role is clear, is to make recommendations before it goes to the governing body. I mean, are you asking for us for next year, and this 2023 is over? I mean, we can talk about some of the backup data, but are you asking for next year that you would like a call or an email ahead of that discussion as we're getting into budget time and need to discuss those things? Do you want us to let you know when it's going to be discussed at Borough Council and when we're going to be having those budget meetings and budget workshops?
Yes, I would like that, because that way we're not blindsided come January 1st of 2025 and we need up the rates again. That's my biggest thing. I felt like we were blindsided last week.
Well, I guess that's where we differ, because we've been talking about this, it's been on the agenda, and the onus is not on us to make sure that you're paying attention.
But it is on you, you're the borough council.
I don't think it was the intention.
It certainly
I'm
wasn't
sorry
the intent.
it's not, you don't like that, but that's how I look at it. It is on you guys to reach out to us and say, hey, this is going on.
Well, we differ in that opinion then, but, it certainly wasn't anything intentional to say we don't care what you think, or we don't, everyone is welcome to be involved in the discussion on municipal authority or not. Everybody in the room tonight can talk.
But do you see our side where it looks like we're asked to rubber?
I can understand your feelings, yes. But what would you like us to do at this point, I suppose?
I'll let the chair be, I mean, some of the data would be nice so we could at least look at it,
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't wanna have somebody come to my house and say, how could you justify raising my water and sewer rates 50%? Well, I can't. I have no data. I have,
Well, you're not
seems
saying that,
exceedingly excessive. I mean,
Michelle, do you have the notes and data in a
Yep.
form that you could,
I just
provide
have to have
to
it
the
copied, because it's pages and pages and pages and pages and pages, I mean, probably hundreds.
Okay.
I mean, if you could email it, it'd be great.
Well, a lot of it is handwritten, a lot of it is already printed from different sources, from other municipalities that I pulled their rates, and then the big spreadsheet that I can email. The rest I don't have in PDF form on my computer, so I have.
I can say that we'll work to be better at communication in the
Yeah.
future.
I mean, I think at this point, it's gonna be noted that they would like to be part of the conversation as we get into the fall of next year as to rates, and maybe Stacy and Terry just make sure that they're given an email or a call when it's gonna come up in the meeting. I think that would mean a lot. And as far as the backup data, if you can scan it into a PDF, and are you able to open PDF documents?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
I'll also say that, I mean, water and sewer rates are the biggest limiting factor here, the biggest issue here. So it's gonna be a topic of conversation just in general. So I would encourage you to just check the agenda, you know what I mean? If there's something you feel you wanna weigh in on, stop in and discuss it with us.
So I guess the next step is we have to have another meeting, correct? Am I right,
Yes.
Joe?
Yeah.
Yes, you'll have to have another meeting, it'll have to be advertised. There's no real hurry because it wouldn't go into effect until the beginning of next quarter anyway, but this should be resolved. So probably a meeting in February, if you've had some time to review the documentation that Mrs. Stout sends to you. Maybe, at 6:30 before our 7 o'clock meeting in February, that would work.
That should give us enough time to look at it all.
If you have any questions, our emails are on the website, or you should probably.
I always just call Stacy and ask questions, and she gets what I usually get what I want.
That works too, yeah.
The mayor lives behind me, so
I'm stopping in the office next Monday, so I'll bring all my stuff and you guys can, if you can scan, because I don't have a way to scan it.
That's okay, that's what we're here
But I'll get it all together.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else for this evening on that topic?
No, I'm good.
If you give us one, if you have questions.
I'd stay,
Thank you, gentlemen.
I'd stay, but I gotta get up at 2:30.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item under communications is a letter that was emailed to us from the Girl Scout Troop 178. Again, this year they would like to sell Girl Scout cookies during the cookie season in our parking lot out on White Street, in the parking lot that is accessible now more than it was this time last year with the TASA project taking up a lot of space. They want Saturdays and Sundays, from starting on January 18th-ish and ending on the 10th. They actually said January 20th in their letter. So in the past, council has either approved or not approved the use of the property. They have just noted for the record that they have supplied a certificate of insurance to the borough already.
So they want
Do
Saturday.
you see us breaking ground out there?
Well, that's my concern. Yeah. The next 3 months, I'd like to have some activity out there. But they're asking for in here also so they can move to in here, correct?
Depends on what we're willing to, because we offered up our parking lot here because of TASA, or even at the Park Pavilion because of the TASA project taking up White Street's parking lot.
For inclement weather, would they come in here?
They would have to have a key to get into this meeting room. So they can't just haphazardly, they need to
Yeah.
come in and sign a key
I
out.
understand they like to be out there because of visibility.
Sure, yes,
Finger
Yes.
sales out there.
yes.
I was thinking, any idea on where we're starting that project? Or where we should start that project? The pool demolition and the parking lot drop?
Well, they should be inside the fence, no?
Yeah, we need access, that's our access point.
I haven't heard yet on just the permit.
It's also Saturdays and Sundays,
Yeah,
you know
they
what I
won't
mean?
be
So it's
working
just
on
about
Saturday,
access. If
Sunday.
they're working in over here at the
As long
beginning
as
of
there's
it.
no equipment sitting out.
Yeah, as long as we don't, I mean, it's a Girl Scout cookie table too, they don't need the whole parking lot.
I don't have a problem, I mean.
Yeah, no,
I don't have
I'm
a
thinking
problem
it, just thinking it through. I don't have a problem with it
I would
either,
say
but
it
never.
depends on the construction and equipment.
I'm sure if something needs to be there, we can work around it. Go to pavilion or whatever.
January 18th and July.
March 10th.
So I'll just be looking for a motion to approve the Girl Scouts' use of the parking lot on Weiss.
I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mr. Mayor,
I guess the only thing I got, I'm sure everybody's seen it by now, we got a new hot dog is now opening up for business. I've stopped there a couple times. I think they rival the competition of Yahoo, so if you haven't been there, I'd say stop in. Place, the guy that owns it's a nice guy, so I wish him all the well. That's all I got.
Good job on the snow emergency.
It was a little, since we didn't use it last year, when I went to use it, it wouldn't work, so I had to call WF, and it was a nightmare, trust me.
all right, thank you. Police report.
So I believe Chief Olshaver just typically reads off the statistics and kind of goes over this, so I'm just gonna read that, so if anybody has any questions during, stop me or ask me at the end. I'm also Corporal Angela Arndt, by the way, for those of you I have not met yet. Okay, so for December, we had a total of 931 patrol miles, which was the equivalent of 82 patrol hours. We handled 2 crash investigations here, issued 7 traffic citations. There was a total of 19 hours of traffic checks. So traffic checks is time spent sitting and watching like an intersection for stop sign violations or something like that. We did a total of 19 vehicle stops. We had 2 hours dedicated to court, 2 hours dedicated to follow-up or criminal investigation time for our detective. And then 2 main reports out of Topton for December. The first is that the borough reported a check in the amount of $1,483 was stolen from the mail and deposited into an unauthorized checking account by an unknown person. If you're not familiar with the check washing scams and things that are taking place, it is out of control everywhere. Like every detective in this county and probably everywhere else is working on quite a few of these cases. So yeah, they basically just steal the check out of the mail somehow, somewhere along the way, and then just wash the check completely and put a whole new amount on it and take it in and cash it. So and they're for a lot of like lots and lots of money, some of these checks are. So yeah, it's a problem, but so we did have one reported from you guys, and then on December 14th, we had a report of a weapons offense. Our detective, C.I. Merkel, is currently investigating that. A person who's prohibited from having a firearm attempted to purchase one. So he is investigating that. The case is still open, but charges are pending for that. Okay. And just the breakdown for the citations: 5 speeding tickets, 2 parking violations. And then under personnel, we do have another part-time officer that's set to start here sometime in the next week or so, I believe, sometime in January. So that's everything.
Angela?
Yes.
So there's 2 hours of court time, is that to follow up on tickets, or what is that?
No, that's like if you if someone issued, you know, any sort of ticket, speeding ticket or whatever, and the person pleads not guilty, then it goes to court, goes to a hearing, so that's what the court time is from.
So it was a magisterial district judge level, not a summary appeal?
Correct, that would have been Judge Shepard's office.
Anybody have any questions?
You said 931 miles equals 82 patrol hours.
Correct.
How does that work out?
I don't know how he figures that out, I just can tell you that when we log our, so each officer is responsible for maintaining a log of their shift, and so we put the starting miles for when we like get to Topton, and then when the end of your shift is over, your log needs to indicate your ending miles. So he just tallies those up. And then again, I mean, we do 40 hours a week, correct?
So it's hours in, other than court, or some investigation, it's hours in Topton, it's not driving time from Fleetwood to Topton, it's not included.
Correct, I mean, but if your shift time starts at, if we're supposed to be in Topton starting at, you know, 0700 hours, and your shift ends at 1300 hours, it's a 6-hour shift.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Gotta go to Richmond Township meeting now,
Sure.
so thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
That was
Thank
me
you.
last week with the organization.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, hearing and visitors, anybody wanna, Scott, go?
Okay, we're gonna have the car show July 21st, right? We're gonna need a check for 1,800 for Fleming Dick. And then if anybody has the contact info for the softball association, because I like for them to have the food again.
They're actually meeting tonight, so I wish I would have known, I would have conveyed that to them, but I'll get.
That's all right, we got time.
Yep, I'll get email out to them, give me the information after the meeting.
Okay.
Like your email or something like that.
Cool. Anybody else?
I ask Scott a question?
Of course.
With the car show, have you thought about, donation for like the food pantry, or
Well,
if we can't do food pantry, what about safety net sanctuary?
Yeah,
Do they allow things like that?
a lot of the people that came wanted to pay an entry fee, because and I said it's free, and they wanted to do something anyway, to pay anyway, but I didn't take no donations last year. But what we were talking about for this year is putting on the flyer, if you want to bring something for the food kitchen
For the
or
food pantry.
food pantry, we'll take that as a donation.
Okay, and I can contact the food pantry for you, you know, that's no problem if you would like me to do that.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
no problem.
Anybody else? All right, then we'll move on to Joan.
Okay, a couple of ordinance updates I've been working on. The first one is an ordinance that would be another amendment to the property maintenance code and quality of life ordinance. And that is to amend the definition of premises, which is in the ordinance, to include private property. The International Property Maintenance Code has a definition of premises that's incorporated by reference into our ordinance under 03-2021. The ordinance has a separate definition of private property, which you can do with property maintenance code because it's not an international, it's not one of the UCC codes, so you can vary it. Council had asked that the definition be changed to premises to include private property. And the way I would propose that is that premises, which is the defined term in all caps, includes private property
and the streets, alleys, sidewalks, and walkways adjacent thereto. Also, when I was going through ordinance number 03-2021, I found a typo that needs to be corrected, and that is that it refers to there's a definition of property maintenance code as the 2009 code. It should actually be 2018. Figured this would be a convenient time to make that change, fix that, so it's not a problem in a future prosecution.
Makes sense.
So I would ask for authorization to advertise that amendment for the February meeting.
Okay, so we looking for that motion?
I'll make that one.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Okay, that was the easy one. The more difficult one is parking. We looked at parking first in terms of, do we want to make this similar to Fleetwood's parking of large vehicles? Because it makes it easier when both are patrolled by the same police force. And I prepared a draft ordinance that was distributed to all of you that does that. And it uses Fleetwood's definitions, definitions of commercial vehicles, large vehicles, and private vehicles and recreational vehicles. And it has a restriction on large vehicles for parking, with the size being 11,000 pounds, width of 96 inches, with the exception of loading and unloading, and then some additional restrictions for large vehicles. The idea was that tractor trailers shouldn't be, and other commercial vehicles, large commercial vehicles, shouldn't be parked on the streets, blocking the streets, creating a safety hazard, and that residents shouldn't be allowed to park RVs and boats on the streets for a long time, longer than it takes to reasonably load and unload. However, I got some comments back from council that the definition of commercial vehicle was not in line with the Federal Highway Administration and Department of Transportation definition of commercial vehicle, which is a vehicle that requires a CDL. It says CDL, but it also gives a weight threshold of 11,000 pounds. Commercial vehicle actually starts at 10,000 pounds, with heavy duty commercial vehicles being starting at 26,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. So there's a possible inconsistency there. And then we also have our current ordinance, which is in chapter 71 of the codified ordinance, which is very stringent, which says it's unlawful for any person to park or leave unattended any commercial vehicle having a gross chassis weight of 5,000 pounds or more, tractors having a gross chassis weight of 3,000 pounds or more, trailers having a combined weight of chassis and body if so constructed exclusively loaded 3,000 pounds or more, and semi-trailers saying 3,000 pounds or more in any alley or highway of the borough, and parking of certain oversized vehicles is prohibited. It allows 24 hours for loading and unloading. Also does not allow a motorized vehicle having a length of greater than 24 feet to be parked on a street for in excess of 24 hours. So and also our current ordinance is out of date, and it refers to the Northeastern Berks Regional Police Department. So what I would suggest is that we bring the definitions in line with the federal definition for commercial vehicle, so we achieve the goal of not inconveniencing borough residents who own larger vehicles that are not larger commercial vehicles, but also don't have tractor trailers parked on the streets longer than unloading. And also have the same restrictions about trailers, boats, RVs that we currently have, which is they can be on the street for the 24 hours it takes to reasonably load and unload, but then would need to be off of the street, either on the private property, in the garage or carport, or even in the driveway, as long as it doesn't block the sidewalk.
Right.
What are council's thoughts? Again, I received comments from 2 members of council. What about the rest?
Dan, I know you wanted to speak on this.
Let us speak on this?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I'm all for keeping it easy, and if you align the thresholds with the Department of Transportation, you simply need to state 26,000 pounds, because that is a commercial vehicle. They're always more than 8 feet wide, and it will eliminate any hassle for our smaller local business owners, like Works, and some of the contractors in town that have vehicles that are more than 10,000, but less than 26,000.
Sure.
So you won't create hassle on our local business owners, but those really obnoxiously large trucks, that takes care of them all. But then on the second hand, for residents that may be truck drivers, we shouldn't exclude them or prohibit them from parking it on their personal property. I think personal property should be off limits.
I agree with you.
If this is for the streets, it should be for the streets.
I agree with you.
All right, as long as it doesn't block the sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a separate issue anyway. To tell you the truth, I still feel that the issue that sparked this conversation is covered just under Pennsylvania's state law. You can't park in any way that pushes cars into an unsafe manner. As far over as you have to go, that's an unsafe driving position. So I mean, I don't.
And one other comment, with the storage of ATV, or camper trailers or RVs, again, personal property should be off limits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because,
If you wanna take a real drive over an RV, go
we have a
ahead.
substantial number of residents that have RVs.
Yeah, boats.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as
it's reasonably stored on their
It's-
property, we shouldn't care.
I'll say, usually where I've heard the complaints in the past when I was on streets and such, it's when you're parked next to a corner and somebody's coming out of the alleyway, you know what I mean? It pushes you so far out, you can't see, that kind of stuff was usually the complaints. Yeah, but yeah, you wanna park it in your backyard,
Right,
go ahead.
as long as it's not in the front yard, yeah. And the
And
driveway
one of
is
the
not.
biggest catalysts for this was, on top of the regular complaints of close calls and things, of people coming around the corners with the large, was when the fire company said, we can't get a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we can't have that.
Yeah.
Right, no, it can't block the streets. I mean, loading and unloading is necessary. Some businesses have to take deliveries by tractor trailer.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
not everybody has the luxury of a loading dock in the back, so, yeah.
Especially here.
No, I agree with everything you said.
So,
Okay,
I hate to see us lose freedoms
Yeah.
if we don't have to.
No, I don't,
Yeah, I can redraft it and then get it done in time that if there's a consensus, it can be advertised. It's
Okay.
already authorized to be advertised, so.
Okay.
Redraft it.
Joan, you're talking about trailers, what are you talking about?
When I'm talking about trailers, I'm talking about the boat trailers, RV trailers, that type of trailer. I'm not talking about the tractor trailers, that's with commercial vehicles, but with the RVs, boat trailers, that type of thing.
What about like a small utility trailer, that lots of people have, and they may have
Well,
a
if they
little
limit,
mulch that they have sitting, that they're offloading, for example, that would be on the, are you talking about small, narrow, they're about 4 foot wide?
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about those, because I'm talking about commercial vehicles. These are not, I know what type of personal trailers you're talking about.
So that it's clear.
well, it does have the trailers have a weight limit, right?
Right.
Oh, it does have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think you
Yeah,
load
those-
mulch or something like that
Right,
and
those
cross
are,
3,000
yeah,
pounds.
those are privately, mulch or firewood, things like that. I mean, you see that all the time. You see those regularly parked in the street, behind, they're just hitched to the car, or to the SUV, or to the truck, and that's not really what's causing the problem.
There also is the element too, is that, when Fleetwood Police comes around to enforce, they make a judgment call, is this problem right now, or is somebody unloading their mulch? You know, is this an issue that needs to be addressed, or is it just a guy who's here for loading up his camper?
And under penalty, is there, any place where we could put a warning to at least warn people?
Well, that's generally done by the police, that, again, a matter of discretion with the police. Because sometimes, I don't know that I wanna put in a system of warning people, because some of these are just so blatantly stupid and illegal that you don't wanna warn. You need to have a stick and sting.
The thing that's unfortunate about this is when people move into a community, they don't always check the ordinances to see what they can and can't park. And then after they get here, like I think with the case with the current situation, we have someone who moved into the neighborhood and they have a work vehicle and they have no way of knowing how.
Yeah, but he's already been talked to.
I know that, but I'm just saying before he bought his house and he's a property owner, he's a resident of this town, and after the fact,
Yeah.
I wish there was a way that.
Well, I mean,
Although the
if you gotta bring this
distance
home
thing is
every day.
statewide, it's not just the borough.
I mean, if you gotta bring a big truck home every day, that should be one of your concerns when buying a house. Can I park my truck out here, you know?
I mean, it'd be good if they knew there's a way they.
Yeah,
And I'm
actually-
sure the police too will most likely attempt to tell them that they are not supposed to be there and give them the chance to move it. But then if they see it on a regular basis, I mean, generally they don't just drive up and give you a ticket.
He actually has room behind his garage, if he made a reasonable effort, he could park there.
Well, you know, but Eileen, I see your point, because, you know, whether he gets a warning the first time or not, he bought the house.
Yeah.
Now he lives here, like, and if that's an issue. But again, I think, well, at least myself personally, if I brought a big truck home every day, I'd be like, where do I park my truck?
Right, because there are some neighborhoods where that's a big problem, and I think that if you do that for a living, you probably know that you need to check.
So which weight limit are we going with, John?
26,000
What was the 11,000 you said?
in the Fleetwood order, that's in the Fleetwood ordinance.
So we're just doing 26 maximum.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's where the heavy duty commercial vehicle starts.
You're right, and it won't affect anybody who just simply has a box on the back of
This is
a
a
F-150.
That alleviates a lot of hassle for renters.
All right.
Either weight or the width.
No, we won't need the width anymore, because anything that weighs that much is gonna be that big.
Right, it's self-limiting.
All right. Anything else, John?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Stacy?
It was the end of the year, and we appreciated having the office closed to process final payments and any other transactions, so we appreciate that. Our liquid fuels audit for 2020 to 2022 is scheduled for this Friday, so they'll be coming in to audit that time period. We have scheduled our financial audit of the borough for 2022 and 2023 calendar year financials for the week of January 22nd. Office staff met with Kathy Hassler because her committee chair has changed, so we met with her to discuss any finance processes, procedures, and preferences. We are getting all, if not are finished with getting all of the budgeted services for this year, moving forward, scheduling, softwares to be installed, and on-site visits. The generator for the water plant was scheduled to be installed mid-January. It's been pushed to end of January now, but they are keeping themselves busy coming up to compliance with DEP's observations with their last visit that they had in 2023. Wastewater treatment plant has been surviving the deluge of storms every Sunday, and now the one that's coming tomorrow night. And all of the staff, thank you all staff for their hard work Saturday, Sunday, and today, dealing with the winter storm.
As always, you did a good job.
Yes, definitely. The next item under my section is the bidding thresholds again have changed, and obviously they usually go up, and yes, they have gone up this year as well, and that takes effect January 1st, so pretty much it's anything below 12,600, we do not need formal bidding, and then anything above that, of course, needs formal bidding, dependent on the amount, whether it's 3 quotes or formal actual bids. Next item is, council was informed that the RKL auditors were processing the draft of the tax collector's audit for 2022, and it is now available for public review. You have the letters that were actually addressed to council and mayor in your packet. The audit, I did not feel that you needed to look at again, so if you wanna look at that, it's available in the office. The Gatsby 68 report for our PMRS pension plan for employees of Topton, full-time, for the time period ending December 31st, 2022 is now available. That can be reviewed in the office as well. Public can review that as well. Like last year and even the year before, the county UCC, which is Uniform Construction Code Board of Appeals, agreement is not changed from last year. We participate in this, so we don't have to have our own Board of Appeals if someone would appeal some decision performed by Barry Isid and Associates regarding any work done on a property of theirs involving UCC work.
Yeah, it's money very well spent because those boards have to be composed in a certain way. The members have to be qualified in a certain number, engineering, architecture, contracting, and construction. And unless you have a very large municipality and qualified individuals willing to serve, it's very difficult, so it's very important to be with the county.
Fill those requirements, yes.
We barely have anybody serving on any of the boards.
Yeah, so I just need direction from council to authorize me to execute as I did last year. If anyone wants to see the agreement, even though it's the same as last year, any new members, please, before I, am directed to sign it, it's here for your review.
Need a motion?
Yep.
I'll make the motion to authorize execution.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you very much, that's all I have.
Thank you, Stacy. Committee reports. Carol, you're first.
Water protection plan, we're still trying to get, cooperation. Carol is jumping in now, working with his contact who assigned it to someone else who just, I hear nothing back about ever, other than stop out bugging us, not in different words. We're looking into it, so. MS4, Barry Aslip is working on the fourth quarter, and we'll have work that needs to be done highlighted in that for us, so. That would be that for this one.
Thank you. Elaine?
Under policy, Stacy had mentioned something when I was in the office, the other week about the job descriptions that were done, like over a year ago, that they weren't put into the handbook. And Nick said he thought maybe it was something with, like legally, or Joan didn't want us to put that, or change that, or do we have to,
They weren't incorporated into the employee handbook, and that would be an official action because it was an official action to adopt the current employee handbook.
Right, so any amendment to the employee handbook, but at this
I don't wanna do it
point.
now, cause we have other stuff.
Right,
I just
because,
wanted to ask what the.
right, because there are collective bargaining negotiations going on, I recommend that it wait until after that. And make any change, you may need to make some changes in the course of those negotiations.
Well, that's what I was gonna note
Yeah.
here, is that, at this point, if it wasn't added before, then we'll wait until after, we work through the union negotiations to make that change, but maybe just put a note that would do that, so I don't wanna miss putting that in when we're making the changes we end up making. We're starting a meeting soon, to work that out, so I I didn't know if Stacy wanted to be our point of contact for scheduling those meetings. She can send an email out if the office that, we're working with, and let her know when we need to meet. We didn't get the dates, but we did get.
Yeah, I
the
sent
second
out,
dates. We
a
did
second
get
set of
those.
dates, yeah.
And Kathy had responded to that.
I can be there as well.
Yeah,
Carol,
I
you
am,
asked me,
and I'll
yes,
respond.
okay. So I'll just pick one of those days and we're good to go? Okay, unless there's one of them that sticks out more so than the others.
Well, please keep me informed on.
I will, I'll-
What date that gets selected there, so I can.
I'll put everybody on the email, when I respond to them.
On personnel, that's it for policy. For personnel, so, Sean, our public works employee, will be leaving us. And he has submitted his letter, to resign his position. So I would like to ask, do we wanna start advertising that position ASAP, or do we, I have a couple questions about that, because, if we're gonna hire someone, are they gonna be hired under our current handbook rules? I'm assuming they would be, rather than through a new hire that might have it changed. Are we gonna set a date where any hires are gonna be negotiated through the bargaining we're gonna be doing?
Well, right now, if you hire, say you hired someone today, they're hired under the current, pay scale and policies. But, they're going to become, if they're a non-supervisory, non-managerial employee, they're gonna become a member of the bargaining unit. And the bargaining unit is going to, and however the negotiations turn out, that will affect their job description and policies and wage scale.
So that's something we should probably disclose in any interviews, is that we're currently negotiating.
And so Stacy, when do you feel that a new person should be hired? He's leaving, you said on the.
I believe his last day will be the 12th of January.
Okay. So, and when did he give notice? I'm just curious.
He gave 3 weeks' notice.
Okay.
So during the week of the 19th, 18th, 19th of December.
Okay, so December 18th, 19th.
You guys send the proposed listing before it's posted
Excuse me?
for the job? Because we've had issues with that before.
Yeah. So I can
So we can review.
email one
So
out.
if you could prepare an ad and send that to all of us, I think, to just look over, that would be good for sure. And then would the council be interested in a exit interview? I'm in favor of those, just so we can get feedback on, from an employee.
I don't think it's a bad idea, you know, I'd also leave it semi up to Sean as well, whether he would like to or not, you know, I don't wanna make it
No, just to.
No, I don't think more information is ever a bad thing, so.
Okay.
If he's got any thoughts on his time here, I'd love to hear.
And then, on the agenda, it mentions we had an executive session on January 2nd, and at that time, we had all discussed having a follow-up meeting. And I requested an executive session, as we already know, we had requested. So that was, I wanted to see if you wanted to do that at any point, at this meeting, at the end of this meeting.
We can do that,
To
a
do
few
a
minutes at the end,
follow-up,
yeah.
so, okay. And that was to discuss a personnel matter for the record. Let's see here. And I wanna request that whenever there's any personnel matter, and I'd be copied on it, before, as soon as it's known. So I know what's happening with personnel. Instead of, anyone just putting an email out there on a matter that I may not be aware of. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Lynn. Dan, we're up to you.
I don't have a report yet, but I would like to ask, is it appropriate for me to ask the roadmaster to sit down? I'd like to see where his priorities
Absolutely.
mesh up with that study we had done
Absolutely.
and maybe reprioritize.
Yeah, I would highly suggest that.
I have some avenues to maybe get some.
Scott's got a lot of the plan up in his head, so, yeah.
It's hard to ask for money if you don't have a plan on paper.
And just so you know, because he covers the water treatment plant as well, his testing occurs in the early morning. So, 7 to 9, 9:30 is usually up at the water plant. So, anytime after that, before 3 p.m. is usually best for him.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Good, there you go. Thank you.
All right, and nothing else?
That's it.
Okay. Finance, Kathy.
I would like to request a motion to approve the bills and transfers and the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, accounting reports.
The treasurer's report for January 8th. Do they all have a copy? You all have a copy, and I would like to have a motion to accept it as it is presented.
Yeah, you don't need a motion for
No. Susan, read them.
Do you want her
What's
to
up to
read
you?
them?
Is that
that. I did, Monica didn't, so it's,
Is it necessary? I thought it was necessary, everybody always did it.
It's in the minutes then, which is why we had chosen not to read them.
Gotcha. I don't need it read out loud, I thought you had to do that. Okay, never mind, we can skip that then.
Okay.
Unless anybody would like it done that way, I mean.
I've seen it done both ways, I've never seen any problem with
Yeah,
it,
it seems-
just being a part of the minutes.
Right.
It's an open record for anybody who wants to see it.
Alright. Thank you. So I guess that comes to me then. Buzz around town, obviously it's a snowstorm for the most part. But I wanna highlight that I heard a lot of reports of kids going around, neighbors going around, helping shovel other people out, doing all that, and I think that's fantastic. If anybody knows any of those kids, tell them to reach out to us because we can give them credits or the affidavit or whatever they need to get credits for community service hours, whether that be for the school or for the scouts or whatever. But it was just really nice to hear. I know it wasn't all kids, but and I saw even on my block as it usually is, everybody's out helping each other and then taking care of this and taking care of that. It's a great thing to see. All right, and then the list of special events for 2024. I gave everybody a copy. Not much is, I'm not changing too much really. The only thing I removed was that we've been doing the coffee with the cop or come meet your things, which was great because when we first got Fleetwood Police, I think more exposure, but that's also what National Night Out is specifically supposed to be about, so I think we'll just combine those two. And everything else is pretty simple except the June event, the party in the park or whatever we end up doing this year, but we have some new ideas for that. Anybody have any questions?
I'd like to know what the budgeted amount is, because in the budget, we just approved the balanced budget, but we didn't talk about the expense of these and how that's gonna be paid. Last year, we had used private funds to fund all of our events, and, are you gonna wait till you get to each event to then work up what the budget's gonna be and how much is gonna be spent? in order to approve that?
No, but the plan is to definitely go a slight tweak to what you were doing last year and rely mostly on donors.
Okay, so you wanna rely mostly on donors. Just make a note of this. And then how much money did we gonna spend Because I was not using any taxpayer money for any of our events. We had some very generous donations that were given to us last year.
That's the goal again.
It was wonderful, okay, so it's during the time I was in charge of the events, there were donations of supplies, services, and money that was used to do things. So,
That's the plan again.
all right, so we had a surplus of money left over, and none of the money that was put in the budget for the park, that was a $20,000 amount of money, is that right?
The anonymous
Every year
donation?
for 5 years,
Correct.
that's what we had. And so that money roll over into this?
That's placed, in donations in the park and is used for miscellaneous purposes. It was
Okay.
never
Okay.
earmarked for anything very specific,
Okay.
just the park.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Do you have, by the way, do you have any idea of, like, would you have a projected goal for how much money you're gonna?
The plan is to look at each event, and really the party in the park would only be the one that has the bigger expenses. You know, community yard sale is really just us saying,
Right.
why doesn't everybody have a yard sale on this day? The plan is to find specific sponsors for each thing that we want to have at this. So the petting zoo, we wanna have that, or the guy who comes with the train, and then reaching out to some of the donors that you did last year and having a specific cost and saying the bouncy house costs $2,000. Would you like to sponsor the bouncy house? You know, if we fall short of our goals, it will mean less at the event, but it should mean that everything that is there has been provided by a sponsor.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have all the details on what we're gonna do
Right,
with
that'll
the
take
party,
time.
but, you know,
And there is, there was no data that was ever given to it previously, so I did put together, paperwork in that, booklet that was.
Yeah, I looked
given
at
to
that,
us.
looked at that.
And in that, there are like rough ideas of how much was spent to
Mhm.
do things, and that should give you, and how many people attended events. And information like that we need to collect so that we can prepare. A lot of the people that want to attend these events, as far as if we have any outside vendors, they are almost all charging a fee to come to
Right.
secure that they're gonna have enough business to make it worth their while. And so, we need to commit to giving them, a deposit.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Until we know we have how many people, and so knowing that data is critical, because if we know we're gonna have 100 people at an event, then they're confident that they're gonna make money and it's worth their time.
Sure.
So we need to keep those records, just wanted to mention that.
Sure.
Thank you.
No problem.
Should the YMCA event be on here? I know we don't do much of anything, but
It's a program, not an event, so that's
Yeah,
probably why
the
it's never
camp is
been
on
on
the
here.
side, yes.
Yeah, it's never been on here.
Okay. That's all I got for today. So, Eric.
I got in contact with Andy Schumann for the weekend, and they are getting pricing together yet.
Okay.
With the holidays, it was slow for quotes to come in, but they're definitely working on it. That's, as far as we got right now. With the pool parking lot, is there anything, Charlie, that you, Scott, and I can look at, or without affecting CASA at all out there, and getting?
Yeah,
get
we
started?
could schedule a meeting, Brian was the one that I'll get here with me, but yeah. When would
So-
you like to meet? We can talk offline, yeah.
Are we still looking at CASA closing out in January?
It should, yeah.
Yes.
We've submitted all the paperwork, so.
So can you let Scott know that, I guess he'd be the one that,
You know what he'll say? He'll say, whenever you
Whenever,
want, whenever
yeah.
it fits with your schedule.
I'll talk with Brian and
maybe,
get some dates.
yeah, I was gonna say that he'd probably be the hardest one to get a hold of as far as dates. Logging of the watershed property. Charlie got me a list of foresters and got me the whole state, which I picked Berks County since that's where we are, and it's still 5 pages of,
I didn't know it was such
foresters.
a big industry around here.
And he also recommended one, how do you want me to go about, do you want more than one contact, or contact?
Yeah, I think we treat it like anything else and look at
Like
getting 3 bids, yeah. Or I guess it's not so much a bid in this, as just a proposal of.
It's a professional service, at least generally, I believe that's the
I agree,
general.
I agree that forestry service are, it depends a lot on quality rather than price, yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna be able to give us a hard number on anything, but, you know, I would say meet with 3.
Well, I'm gonna use the one that Charlie recommended, plus 2 others, if that's okay with everybody.
Sounds good.
See what the, you know, see if those 3 are interested. And we'll go from there.
Sure, sounds good.
Hopefully have some, or I don't know if I'll have anything for the next meeting, but we'll put it in the works and see what kind of responses we get.
I have, a slight concern, just based upon life experiences, not in Pennsylvania, other areas, so where property is logged and they leave a total mess of ruts and our springs are up there. So are there standards that apply in the county, or how
So
does that work?
the township has some, so they have to get full township permits, and the other part is they have to do, it's a modified E&S plan, erosion sedimentation control, and so they have to deal with that. The other part is you're hiring the forester, so you're gonna set, just like anything else, you set some of the criteria. So what they'll do is they'll come out and mark trees and give you an estimate of the board feet they think you're gonna get off your property. You're gonna pay you generally for that up front, that assessment. And then based on that assessment, is how you judge. Well, Eric's got some expertise, Scott would be involved. Part of what you'd be looking for is clusters. Are they clustered around your springs? Can they be logged without having impact? And those type of things, because he's got to look to determine what can be done to shape the property that's going to impact what goes on. One of the ones we had done had a big boulder field in it, and it turned out that impacted the bids. We could log it, but that impacted the ability to get the trees out. But yeah, they factor all that in. They have to follow best management practices through state regulation. So it's not free and clear, but the other thing is you get to make choices. Ask the questions when they present. It's gonna be a professional that's gonna do this, so ask what the questions you want. So we have the maps of the springs, they'll have that when they go out. They can talk through potential impacts and all.
And does the industry have a best practices standard?
There is, yes.
Okay, because I think part of what we'd ask is do they follow industry best practices?
Yeah.
Some of these companies also are watershed qualified. In other words, out of all the lists, maybe a third of them are only qualified, so I'm only gonna contact people that work with the watershed. That's all I have.
Alright, I'd love to be at least in one of those, just almost out of curiosity, and hear what he says and then how they go about all that.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna start by email and go from there.
Cool.
We mentioned about putting Long Swamp on notice that we were gonna,
Yeah.
giving them a heads up. Do you think we should like notify them now before we even talk to just like, hey, just FYI?
I mean, I have a pretty good relationship with Don over there. If you want me to shoot him an email informally.
That'd be great. Just we're looking to log the watershed.
Just an FYI, we want you guys.
Just goodwill,
No, I
just
get
continue the goodwill.
We want you to feel like we're not dropping something on you.
Yeah.
Alright.
I mean, obviously, we still have to get permits and stuff through that.
Yeah. They'll find out at some point,
yeah.
but it
But
shouldn't
this
come,
way-
you're right, it shouldn't
yeah.
come through official action.
Okay.
Alright, and then, Michelle?
So currently we have 20 accounts with small balances, 3 payment plans, the one terminated account, which is the account that's been terminated for quite some time. and 23 unpaid accounts with a balance of $6,066.58. There's been a little issue with the finalization of this last round, that we're still working on. They're gonna start doing, readings next week, weather permitting, for the next round of bills. And there's a decameter that is currently on back order until March, because nothing moves slowly, very slowly. That's all I had for that. I can go home down here right away, because there's nothing to report. Nothing
Alright.
changed since last meeting.
Then that's the report, I suppose. Charlie, you're up.
The main things I want to highlight is this is the start of our annual reporting. On the sewer side, I don't list the water because Scott does that himself. But the DRPC report is due at the end of this month. We have, I think, everything from Alex on the sewer, including the supplemental information, and then the report due to DEP is due at the end of March. We usually have that submitted in February, so that's our current plan. We are moving forward with the well. I expect to schedule survey out this month. So on the site, that's what's on our schedule. This, on the MS4 side, this is when we do the 6 months, so halfway through roughly the process, so you'll see that coming through, and then we are still looking for ways to do the perennial stream work. And on top of that, we're looking at grant programs for the flood study. We're looking at, so we did add staff, and she comes with a lot of expertise in the area, so we're able to refine the estimate. Unfortunately, we're still to go from the end of the park where Toad Creek went to through the railroad bridge, about $25,000 to do a study of that. So we're looking at, we do know there's funding sources out there. When there is flooding, that's a problem, and you guys do have flooding, that's a problem. So we're looking for funding to help cover that. So
I'm gonna guess that's gonna require the property owner there to be on board with that.
So the study, no. So the reason for the study is we've talked about the culvert there at the end of the Toad Creek project is well silted up. And one of the things that Public Works wanted to do was de-silt it. Well, the concern is, of course, that if we work this way, we're gonna take the flooding that right now happens, that everybody knows happens, right there, there's a couple of houses there. And we're just gonna move it down to the next choke point. Well, if we move the flooding from somewhere where it is now, somewhere else, your project may be a problem with you causing damage somewhere else.
Right.
So the goal of the flood study is to find those choke points, because we don't know where they are now. And have us be able to do it from the other way, so that by the time you guys have corrected the problems, we move the flooding out of the borough. So that's why we need to look at the study. We're pretty sure that the road culverts are gonna be a little bit of a problem. Pretty sure that the railroad isn't, but that's the last obstruction before we get to a natural stream. So that's why we've talked about that a couple of times, but that's why we wanna do it that way. And we didn't wanna make it so that we cleared up that one culvert and then suddenly it's behind the bar now that we flood. And so now you're impacting somebody else who may not have taken flood mitigation needs. So, but they do have some funds out there for that. The sort of good news was the grant awards were announced. Unfortunately, East Barkley, which we put in for 385, was awarded 185. That's, if I take the mill and overlay of the lane out, I'd have to put a little more in. We're still short of doing the full scope of the water line that we talked about. So I saw one of the suggestions being delay it what I would encourage at this point is, let's get the grant agreement from them, see what all it says, and then decide how we're gonna handle, how much we can delay, and we can look at rescoping if that's what we need to do at that point. But until we have the official grant paperwork, I wouldn't wanna make a decision. We don't need to. It should be coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks at least. Usually we can have those signed by February. That would be my encouragement at this point. It's not, you guys aren't the only ones that this happened to. I've got quite a few that were half or less funded, so that happens. I don't always understand why they don't provide you with rationale on why they only funded things the way they did. Yeah. And then filter media, the additional permit submission should go out this week. We are getting ready to be able to kick Washington Street out on the Washington Street pumping station out on the street. And Stacy, they should be reaching out to you and Eric about the O'Callaghan project to set up a meeting on that.
Thank you, Charlie. Old business, we already did the hometown heroes. Monica, you got anything for the ambulance board?
No, we had no meeting.
Okay. Carol, anything?
Yes, I think everybody has in their package, right up that Larry does. Our quarterly or biannual meeting was, of course, for 21, so that was canceled, unfortunately. But, I did have that information from that they received donations, $500 donations from both the Rotary and from Topton Borough, and very appreciative of that. Larry deposited $270 from the sale of various merchandise he has in there, and that's for the entire year. He collects it and then puts it at the end of the year. So that's all I have for that. We're waiting for a meeting to be rescheduled at Franklin.
All right, thank you. So to do an executive session at this point, during this meeting?
Recess.
Recess.
Recess and then adjourn, after executive session.
So then,
Informing the public
Yeah.
whether there's going to be,
will there need to be official action?
There'll be no actions.
Then you know.
Okay, just a discussion.
so at this point, we're gonna recess into, an executive session on personnel matters. We won't be discussing anything afterwards.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you good? Oh, thank you.
Initial, and they say, sign, they say whatever you want. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.